Welcome back to round 7 of the Sevilla Open. Um, yeah, today I was playing below since I lost the last two rounds. And by the way, my opponent that beat me on the last round, that was a crazy game if you want to check it out, like round 6. But he also beat another guy, like basically exactly with my elo, like 2384 or something like this. And he beat him today as well, so he's even on path to making a GM norm, and he almost has like the IM norm like already in the pocket, which is crazy. But yeah, today I'm playing much below my rating, and okay, I saw that he played the Kalashnikov variation of the Sicilian, which is this that will come up now. Um, I also decided to check the Sveshnikov since they're quite closely related. So yeah, the Kalashnikov is this one with d5 and then d6, and the Sveshnikov is like the cousin variation, which just has the knights, these two knights included, and yeah, it makes some difference theoretically. It can also transpose in some lines, but usually it's going to be a different game. So I went for knight 1c3. An extra option that white has is to go for c4, grabbing more space. That is another line. So I went knight c3, a6, knight a3, b5, knight d5, knight g, e7. So this is still mainstream theory. Now I went for this move bishop d3, which is a little bit rare, but I think it's like the computer's top choice. And I think he knew it because he spent maybe 2 minutes or something, and he took on d5 and went knight d4, which is not the most obvious square for the knight. Um, like 97 makes more sense. And yeah, I didn't extensively check this before the game. So in the game, while he was thinking, not for long, but I was considering what I was going to do against 97. But okay, he went knight d4, so I still knew a few moves here. So c3, knight f5, castles, g6, and knight c2. So now white has this idea to go a4. So in the Sicilians in general, when black has a6, b5, it is usually a good idea. Also in the Relopez, when black has this pawn on b5, it creates this hook for white to exploit. And for example, I've taught this to like many students. This is like a classical case of a good pawn tension for white. So it's a tension that black is not advised to resolve because b takes a4, rook takes would just help white since we're trading like a pawn that's further away from the center, and also we gain this target on a6. So conceptually speaking, at least, black can never take on a4, but white, on the other hand, could decide to trade on b5 whenever he pleases. So it's an example of a good pawn tension for white. And this happens all the time, again, for example, in the real Lopez. So the best move here, from what I remember, is to go bishop d7 first, trying to prevent a4. And now white goes for either a4 anyways, and then knight b4, or knight b4 immediately. And yeah, something like that. But he went bishop g7 immediately, which allows me to go a4. Now he went bishop d7, and I went knight b4. And here he should have castled, right? He should have castled, and the position is a bit dangerous for black because he will allow me to park the knight on c6, and then I can take on b5 or see what I'm gonna do. For example, I see here there's that only one game reached this position, and he went for queen b6. Um, and I was thinking about bishop takes f5. I think I was going to go for this. I would have to think it through when we got to this position, but this seemed nice, and now, for example, pawn takes. I go for this knight e7, king h8, queen h5. Yeah, I was calculating this during the game, and I thought I had a very pleasant position. He has to go f4. I go knight f5. Anyways, he takes it. Because if he doesn't, well, maybe it's possible for him not to take. Maybe go for some f6. Okay, I barely considered him not taking. But the thing is that if he does, like, I'll take with the queen, and now this bishop is terrible, and the queen controls all the light squares. Like, I have a very nice blockade uh, in his position. Even so, like, my bishop is also kind of stuck, and maybe white doesn't have that much of an advantage. Like, these positions tend to be kind of messy and hard to evaluate. But I was thinking about this option during the game. In any case, he went knight e7, which is a little bit of a panicky kind of move. I mean, he's just preventing knight c6, and he wants to go f5 in the future. So, okay, it makes sense, but it's a bit passive, and it loses too much time, which is like key in these unbalanced positions. And now, yeah, I want to talk about like the thing that I really liked about my play today is that I said that I would do yesterday is that I played faster, and especially I took less time in like minuscule decisions. And yeah, instead of, for example, I saw this path here of trading the rooks, or not trading the rooks, but just going bishop e3 and then queen e2 and putting pressure on this pawn. And yeah, instead of trying to go deeper and calculate that and maybe try to understand the differences between queen e2 now or takes and then queen e2 and stuff like this, I just saw a path that I thought was good. Um, and I realized that here, like the position, there's probably, you know, there's probably not going to be that much of a difference between the first, like the best move in the position and the second best move. So yeah, it's like I guess the bottom line is that if it's not a critical moment in the game, you don't feel like it's a critical moment, you shouldn't really spend a lot of time. So my time management was much better in this game. So I traded, went bishop e3. He castled and queen e2. So I had planned this. This is quite annoying for him. I think he's already in quite a bit of trouble because I'm taking on b5 and it's really not simple to stop it. So the first thing is, well, he definitely doesn't want to do something like trades in queen b8. This is extre sorry, extremely passive, and it's probably not even feasible due to like rook a7, knight a6, and so on. But it's quite awkward to defend the pawn actually. So he went rook a5, which I expected as well. And okay, one thing is like I'm not really gonna be able to steal the file from him, the A file, which would be great if I could. And maybe I could try and base my play around that more. But I thought I could also create something on the king side because eventually I will have to meet his play with f5, and the ways to meet that are to either go f4 or f3. But I thought I could be the first one to to poke here and play f4. And he went queen a8, and I traded. So again, this was quite slow from him. Um, yeah, one thing is that he could have taken and maybe tried to use this diagonal. I'm not sure. Like, one thing is I can just take back. Another thing I was thinking about is that I can take and um, and then take on f4. Now I'm hitting the knight and the pawn. But yeah, he has this check. I'll go bishop e3. Or maybe I don't have to. Okay, but I can go bishop e3. And I was trying to understand, like, figure out if there's something interesting I can do or not. But okay, in any case, I don't ever have to give him the file. I can just take with the bishop here. But I think he should have went for that. He went for queen a8, which is, again, quite slow. So now I take on e5, and yeah, he took with a bishop. I mean, if he takes with a pawn, I briefly gave this a look, but I couldn't really believe this would be great for him. I'm just going bishop c5 or d6 in a lot of cases, but bishop c5 especially looks pretty good. I mean, I was giving this some consideration, like queen f2 and f5, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it's quite hard to believe that this would be uh, playable for him. So he took with the bishop, and now I have this move queen f2, which is quite important, I think. So the main thing is I want to exchange this bishop, which is really his only good piece. All the other pieces are misplaced, like this bishop is just passive. The knight is the most problematic piece in his position, and the queen doesn't really have a good way to get in into the game. It has nothing to do on the a file, and so I want to exchange this bishop with bishop d4, bishop f4, and I gain like a nice tempo here by threatening bishop h6. So if he just makes some random move, it's honestly kind of hard to suggest moves for him other than what he played, but just to make my point. Bishop h6. So I hit the rook, which he cannot move because f7 is falling. So he needs to go bishop g7, and now I just trade and queen f6. And I win the knight. So long story short, he has to go f5. And now I will trade this bishop either with bishop d4 or bishop f4. I decided to go here um, because if I go to f4, he can trade and then go queen b6 check. And like, I probably don't want to go into the endgame. I mean, it's completely fine for me, but maybe not much more than that. Like, maybe I don't have an advantage there or a big one. So bishop d4, he went queen c7, which I sort of expected. I mean, around this point, it's honestly kind of hard for him to make moves. Again, the knight is just severely misplaced and he doesn't have a lot of activity. So this is aimed at preventing some ideas after takes, which I did not do. But this queen here now prevents queen c5 and prevents this push with d6. But the big problem is that it gives me this file. So now he went knight c8 to cover the a7 square, but as you can see, like his position is just deteriorating because it's getting more and more passive. So I went rook a6, and this move has two ideas, at least that I thought of. One is to take and go d6, which will initiate some tactics that'll probably favor me. And another one is to play what I did in the game, which is this knight c6. So I'm trying to force the issue here. Like he cannot let this knight just sit there because uh, I'm taking on e5 probably with the bishop or with the knight. Also, this pawn on b5 is just falling because I cut this connection here. So he went queen b7, he attacks my rook, and I go rook a5. I had calculated this, and by the way, a nice line that I saw here. I spent quite a lot of time looking at bishop takes c6, which looks horrendous, of course, but the point is just that after rook takes, he had this a little glimpse of counterplay with queen g6. And now the point is that if I trade, he's getting too active, I thought, with queen takes d5 coming in. And if I don't trade, I go for this bishop takes b5, where now he takes on d4. I take with the queen probably, try to trade the queens. My structure is pretty bad, but I'm up a pawn, and the bishop should be far superior to the knight in this endgame. But okay, I was considering this possibility, like knight a7, and it forks the rook and the bishop. And if something like this were to happen, like rook b6 takes, rook, let's say like e2, and then rook d2, and this might be holdable for black. It looks pretty dry-ish. Eventually, after some thought, I saw this idea of just sacking the rook on c6, playing something like bishop c4. And I thought this was a nice idea. So now he cannot take because I'll take with the pawn. And yeah, this scenario happens sometimes where the bishop escorts the pawn to the promotion square. So like here, bishop a6 is a strong move, and then c7 is coming, and the rook is just not powerful enough to stop all of these pawns coming in. So this should just be winning for white. Maybe here he can still go like rook b8, but I thought, okay, I thought at least I can just take here. Yeah, I believe I thought about this, and he cannot even take on b2 because I have a check, check, and I'm picking up the knight. Okay, so after looking at this long line, I decided to go for queen b7. But again, I didn't spend that much time on this. But for example, here knight c6 I felt like was a critical moment because if these complications after queen b7 or bishop takes c6 don't favor me, then there's no reason to go for knight c6 because right now I have a firm control of the position and I have a stable advantage, right? And unless I'm sure that this will favor me, there's no reason to just complicate the game, complicate matters. And again, this goes to my point that I've been making on other recaps about it, trying to convert the advantages as smoothly as possible, and ideally not spending too much time doing it. Basically trying to find clean ways to make progress instead of like more complicated ones. So rook a5, and he's losing this pawn on b7, so he has to take twice on c6, which he took like 30 minutes to do, and he only had like 34 minutes, and he took like half an hour for this next move of his, because I suspect that he thought this was just immediately losing to bishop b5, but maybe it's not. Like I was also trying to calculate this in my head while he thought. Um, and after queen d5, I'm not sure how I can win, or if I can win at all, because he somehow pins my bishop, and I think the tactics here sort of work out in his favor. So we got to this position, and I took with the rook, which I saw that was a very strong backup option because, like, white's advantage is just massive here. Probably it's just outright winning because uh, he basically doesn't have a move, which is kind of crazy. So, like, if it takes on d4, I'm taking with the queen, and then like bishop c4 check is coming in with mate. The knight has nowhere to go. Like these squares are not available, and knight e7 drops a pawn to bishop takes e5. You cannot move the bishop back because I'll take and queen d4, and it's the same thing. The rook can move to e7, but you know it doesn't do anything, and the queen also has nothing to do. So he's in some sort of weird, wicked zugzwang here. Okay, so he played queen c7. Again, he had seconds here, and I still had a bit more than 30 minutes left. So that's really good, you know, to have a winning position with so much time and a simple position at that. I went queen h4, trying to um, instill some ghosts in his head, basically, which worked because he went d5. But this is kind of a tricky move, actually. I mean, at first, I mean, he played this with seconds, so I sort of assumed he was blundering the pawn. But if you want to look at it, black can actually win in this position, which is pretty insane. Um, and yeah, he has this move, bishop takes h2. And yeah, if I take with the queen, he's got rook e1, and now he grabs the queen. I mean, now that I look at it, I said it was like black to play and win, but I'm not sure this position is winning. Probably it's not, but um, it is at least complicated. And yeah, if I don't take the bishop, then he's just got bishop g3. So this is kind of tricky from him, and he saw this with like very few seconds. So I decided to play a safe move again, bishop f1. It's very useful actually that his pawn has been provoked to go to d5 because now it's much more of a weakness than it was on d6. And here I have to look at the game sheet because I can't remember what he did. He went queen d7. Okay, and I traded and went queen d4. Now this pawn is just falling because, uh, well, I'm attacking the rook, and he's going to be either in this pin or this pin. He went queen e6, and here I saw forced win, which is not too complicated. Rook b8, and I'm threatening to take on c8, and it's unstoppable. Like, take on c8, he takes, I take his rook. So he went rook e1, queen c5, and he resigned. And yeah, I won with like half an hour on the clock, which is very rare. And the game was really smooth. So I'm very happy with this game. Especially again about the time management. Like I feel like if I played this game yesterday, I would have spent much more time on these small, insignificant decisions. And there's no reason to do that. So yeah, this was a nice game, and tomorrow I get a better game, so to speak, against the player rated 2290 or something like this. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the next recap. Bye.